Let's start the interview. If you could just give me your name.
Katherine Strakes. Strakes is a shortcoming from my maiden name. My maiden name was Strakes.
Well, tell me about your mom a little bit. Do you know
Okay.
what part of Greece?
My mother is from Syria. It's an island. That's where the lucumia are made.
Okay.
So that's why I tell people, that's where my sweetness comes from, Syria, the lucumia. My father is a Spartan, so my toughness comes from the Spartan, okay? Anyway,
Do you remember
so my
what-
mother came, as a young woman, she came like 20 years old, and her father was already here. Her father was here, and he brought her here to marry her off, of course. And she did marry my father, and much older than her. But he was a very successful businessman. He had 2 restaurants, not one, but 2, in Brooklyn. And so she got married, and one after another, she started having babies. She had 2 boys, then a girl. I came along. I was the first girl. She had 6 children altogether. We were 6, 2 boys and 4 girls, and I was the first girl. So that's my mother. I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I graduated from high school, so I was 17 years old. So I was there from the time I was born in 25 till 42 when I graduated. Almost the day after I graduated, I was on a bus coming here to Baltimore. My father had a diner in New York, and he was doing well, enough to make a living. We're talking, this is the 30s, getting
Right.
closer to 40, the late 30s. And somebody came along and opened up a brand new stainless steel diner right across the street from him. Big, stainless steel. People had beer, and he was cashing checks. My father's business went down, really. So he ended up coming here to Baltimore because we had relatives here in Baltimore, Parthemus and my cousin Stratakis, Jim, my cousin. That's it. Anyway,
Did you speak
I go
Greek in home? Did
Oh,
you
of
speak
course,
Greek?
my mother, Greek, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, I spoke Greek before I spoke English, I did. But anyway, I worked. So then I got married, and I moved out of the house because my parents did not approve of him. And, well, that's another story. But I did have children, and I came back to Mom with my children, and from there, I grew because I would help out at the, meanwhile, my brother had come from home from the Army, and the old diner was still there. He was working it. My sister was still working there. Then then Mary got married. My sister Mary married a boy from Brooklyn, and so he came. And so my brother was looking to get out of the diner to put a nice diner across the street. He bought a piece of property on Eastern Avenue, Essex, in Essex, and he bought a location there. And he and Bill, my brother-in-law's name was Bill Antonakis, and they put this diner, the Giraffe Diner Company in New Jersey. He went, ordered it, got beautiful, nice, big stainless steel, traded in the old diner. I guess they gave him something for it, whatever. And the diner. So I was working there, helping out.
You had mentioned St. Demetrius, and because I know you were very active in St. Demetrius.
I was
Tell
on
us
the
a little
steering
bit.
committee.
Tell us what was your.
Oh, St. Demetrius. Well,
Yeah, what you did.
can't say anything about St. Demetrius and the beginning of it without selling John Sitaris. John Sitaris, he was giant. He was everything. He put out the Spirit. Do you remember the Spirit? We called ourselves the Suburban Church.
Yes.
We didn't have a name, and John was very strong about that we should have at least 10 acres outside of the Beltway, no matter what. 10 acres, parking, what we needed, outside of the Beltway.
Yes.
That was our criteria. So we did. I wasn't on the real estate committee, as I said. I was teased. That was my job, and forming organizations, which I did too. They sort of formed themselves, but I was part of it, like the Goya and the senior Goya.
Wonderful.
Of course, the Lady Society. It was not Philopticus then. It was a Lady Society. I was part of that too.
Good.
And I'd start the meetings. So that was my job. Yeah, the social and the organizations and the teas. That was my job. See, that was the beauty of it. We had 15 members on the council, the steering committee, and each one had a job. Like one of them had the finance, another one was the pre-selection, another one was the we didn't have stewardship then, was the property, real estate,
Yes.
to find location.
Yes.
So everyone had a job, and it was well organized.
Yes.
We were very organized. Our president was Gus Alexian,
Oh,
and he
I
called
remember.
himself, and he was the project manager.
Yes.
He was an engineer. Actually, three men come to my mind now: Chris Macris, Gus Alexian. And who was the third? They all worked for Western Electric. They worked together.
Bill Laricus?
No, Bill Laricus came along later. He wasn't in the steering committee. The third one, Macris, Alexian. Was it the Carupus boys? It might have been the Carupuses, two brothers. Bill, he's still living. The other one is not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they kept saying, "Let's start a church." And all that. That's where
And you
things
did it.
come from.
And you
Somebody
did it.
starts talking. Next thing you know, you pick it up. And I was called. I didn't know anything about it at the time. Oh, I was working at the diner, had at the cash register, and Gabriel from the Lidis comes in.
He's still living.
He sits at the counter there, with a cup of coffee, and I said, "Look, this guy wants something. He's not coming in here. He can't send you." And so I did. I went and sat next to him. We got slow, and we're talking. Something like, we're going to do stuff. We're talking about starting a third church. Oh, I said, that's nice. I had just become a grandmother. My grandson, my number one grandson, had just been born maybe 6 months. And I said, okay, good. I said, we're going to have a meeting at my house. I want you to come. I said, okay, look, I'm in favor very much, I hope. I said, well, let me tell you one thing. Two things, I said. English and archdiocese. Because at the time we were having a little facetious at St. Nicholas with the priest, blah, blah, blah. I said, archdiocese, I'm now in underground churches. Archdiocese and English. And then I'll be glad to be there. And it was. I went to his house. We had the meeting down at his little beautiful basement he has all fixed up. And we had a meeting. I'd say about 60, 70 people were there for that purpose, to talk about a third church.
Wonderful.
And I think Chris Macris headed the meeting. And we were talking, and then right away, in one of the proposals, I got up, I make a motion that it be all English. Oh, you think I said bring a hula dancer on the altar? You bring her, do a striptease. Oh, come on! I said, you realize we're one generation away from oblivion. We're going to lose our children. How are we going to keep? And then John Soteris was in the back of me. Tell him to call it English oriented. All right. English oriented. And we ended up.
Compromise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it ended up with it said, yes, everything will be in English as far as the correspondence, and we'll move as much as English as possible in the liturgy, in the services.
Right.
And at that time, not right then, but not too long ago, there was a general, synopsis down, they had what's the word?
Parish assembly?
No, when we get together, all the
clergy laity.
Clergy laity Congress.
Yes.
And that subject came up, and
Uh-huh.
they said English, to be able to use English. The Archbishop gave in,
Yeah.
can use some English in the liturgy, because
Absolutely.
we hadn't been using anything.
Yeah.
Very,
Absolutely.
very rare.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it ended up, so we did use English. The correspondence with all the Spirit was put out all English.
Yes. Yes.
No Greek. Maybe here and there he put in something in Greek, but
Yeah.
so that's how we grew. Next thing you know, we were able to get our charter. The Bishop Silas came down.
Oh, yes.
We had a big meeting, a lot of people there, and we got our charter. And
Well, it sounds like you really spearheaded the development of St. Demetrius. You were one of the founders. And I think you touched upon this, Catherine, but if you were to look of all the events in your life, what do you think is your major accomplishments or achievements that you
I had 3 beautiful children. They're all very successful. They're very good. And I guess my part in forming a church, I considered that a blessing.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, I fell into it. I didn't plan on it. Things worked that way. I believe in God's hand. Believe me.
Yes.
There's certain things God did. Don't ever underestimate the Holy Spirit. I say that all the time. The Holy Spirit moves you, directs you.
Absolutely.
Okay? You have to cooperate, of course. You have to live the right life. And
If you think back, and maybe there wasn't anything, but was there anything very difficult about growing up being of Greek descent?
No, not in Brooklyn, because you were one of a mixture. The neighborhood was a mixture.
Yeah.
Lithuanian, Italian, Jewish. As I say, just one Greek family immediately, then down the street this other Greek family. No, we were a melting pot.
So really, you don't really.
Not really.
And so far as being of Greek descent, how important was that being part of your life? Was
Oh,
it?
I heard it all my life. I heard it. You're Greek. This house is Greek.
But how important is it to your life? In other words, maybe,
Now,
when you're growing up now, through getting married, get kids, was that an important part of your life, or you really didn't think about it?
no, I didn't think about it as much. Well, while I was married with my children and I had my husband there, I didn't take my children to school, to Greek school,
Mhm.
because, no,
How is it important now to your now?
vital.
In what way?
Vital, but I'm limited now with my grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Now my daughter is active in her church at Virginia Beach.
Mhm.
Oh, she's very active. And the grandchildren, they come to church. They baptize the babies.
Mhm.
All my grandchildren have been baptized in the church. They're
Mhm.
very strong in that.
What do you think caused the transition? It sounded like in the beginning it wasn't as important being of Greek descent. Later on, it seemed to be more important.
Oh, yes.
What created?
The language. I found myself wanting to speak the language and not forgetting the language.
Okay.
And whenever I get people that spoke Greek, I would make my business to contribute with the Greek. That was my very important thing, to maintain the language.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because?
For myself, I feel selfish because I didn't insist on my children to do the same thing.
Okay.
I'm guilty.
Okay.
And I feel bad about that.
Well, you're not alone. There are
I
many
know
people
that.
would.
I know that.
Then you've got Father Ernie, right?
Then, but a couple of years almost, and we Parkville priests, different priests, but we were blessed. We had some beautiful ones.
Yeah.
We had some wonderful priests filling in. And this went on for a couple of years. Then finally, Father Ernie, his wife, Presbytera Maria, she was John Soteris's aunt, her father's sister.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So John reports one day at the parish council meeting, and guess what I just found out? Father Ernie is looking to transfer.
So first the parish met in what is now the hall, the social hall, I remember that. And
That was
then
our
you-
church.
then
The
you go to
first
church,
building
yeah.
was built, first building was where now, which has expanded since
Mhm.
then, but that was the first building. Then the second building was the actual church. And now we've expanded that social hall to make classrooms.
And then you had a choir right from the beginning?
Yes. Well, in Parkville. You even turned that, we had one church, one service, the first service with Father Calamaris
Mm-hmm.
at Cromwell Elementary School in that auditorium. And that was the only one. After that, we found Parkville. I've good experiences, I can say. I've been blessed. I feel like I was blessed. So you asked me, what can I show for myself? My 3 children? My church.
And your contributions to the church.
Well, that's what I mean.
You've done
God,
tremendous.
well,
amount.
Father Ernie had said it one time, God sends you people. God sends you people. And he did. He sent us people, and
Yeah.
he sent me, I don't know, but
Yeah, no.
this is, and the way it worked out, the sister, I'm there several months, and they'd sell the diner unexpectedly. My sister comes, frees me a little bit more,
And look what you did.
and I was able to do what I did.
Yeah.
A little bit, and I wasn't that much. Some of the real giants, Chris Macris, I can't say enough. John Soteris, can't say enough about him. And his wife Joanne, she was part of the Spirit. He would
Yeah.
put out that publication every month. I would write articles. My articles were in the Spirit. I would write about the teas that I gave and thank the people.
You did a lot. You did a lot.
I did whatever I could. Otimexion your thoughts. That's what I say. Otimexion your thoughts.
Beautiful.
And I believe, I say it from the heart. I really.
Oh, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell.